Trying out this new camera, fancy camera. Got myself a Sony ZV. I think it's called the ZV-1 or something like that. So what I wanted to do today is kind of test it out, try it out, as I give you an update as to what's going on with the car. So today I'm gonna have to take the carburetor off of the white notch so that it can get sent back to AED so that it can get rebuilt. I just want to rebuild. I just want to make sure there's no gunk and junk up in there, make sure it's all good. Probably ask them questions about an E85 compatible carburetor in the future. If I do run E85 on the car, there's E85 readily available all over my area. Also, I'm thinking of running a different set of wheels on the white notch because the rear wheels that are on it right now are not mine. They're Jake's wife's car, Danielle. But I do have a set of wheels here that were on the Fairmont. They're V-Series Welds beadlock. I don't need a beadlock. This car doesn't make big boy power. But I think they're gonna look really good because I'll put a picture of the Fairmont somewhere here. They looked super good on the Fairmont when they were on it. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna take the time today to go ahead and clean them up, buff them out with some compound, some mother's compound and a polishing ball with a drill, and get a set of DOT Pros on it. And the reason I'm gonna get DOT Pros is because the DOT Pros have a thinner bead, basically. Whoa, this camera's badass. So right here where the bead locks actually lock the bead, you'll notice there's some knurling, okay? And that is where the bead locks grip, and that little thin piece of rubber on the DOT Pro is thinner than a ET Street R. So this is a ET Street R. So basically the part you can't see, the bead itself, is thicker than the Pro that is currently on this car. If you actually put them up against each other, you'll notice that the Pro is a thinner thickness bead area of the tire. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna get a little polishing ball action. Mother's, yeah, it's a mess here, whatever, but I'm gonna get some gloves. I'm gonna do a couple of things, but before that, I'm gonna take the carburetor off of the car, then sit down here, polish for a little while. I also wanted to give you guys a bit of an update as to what was going on with this guy. So, when I was making polls the other day, a lot of you, hello. So a lot of you guys noticed that when I slammed on the brakes after a pull, the car would stall. So, I think, but I'm not 100% sure, I think this guy is acting up. I took it for a ride yesterday with my girlfriend around West Palm, went all the way down to Loxahatchee and back, and I saw something on the road and I slammed on the brakes and the car stalled. I went, has a full tank of E85 in it. Why is it stalling? Well, I got back here and I started just wiggling stuff around and the car started. So I'm like, maybe there's something loose here. This wiring does connect to the fuel pump. See right here? This wire connects to the fuel pump that goes down there. So I'm gonna remove the seat, follow this guy all the way back, trace it back to the FPDM, and then get up there, get a flashlight, get up there and tighten everything down just to make sure everything's secure. Then I'll go out there, do some testing, and see how everything goes. Okay, why does this guy, the zoom is kind of funky on this thing, so let me zoom all the way back. Okay, so this is the wheel and tire that's going to get removed from the car. It looks great, it fits without a spacer nicely, but I think on the new V-Series that I'm about to put a set of tires on, not today, I'm just going to polish them up today, I think I'm going to need a spacer, and that's okay because I have a little bit to go from the fender, so maybe a 1/4 inch spacer. And the reason I'll need a spacer is to clearance this guy here. The, where is it? Can you see it? I can't see it. No, I can't see it. Basically, the coilover. The coilover is going to end up rubbing on the backside of the wheel back here. So I want to make sure that it doesn't interfere. So let me go ahead and take this guy off. I'm so happy I fixed that because this thing literally, almost forgot. This thing literally had no way of locking the door before. So now I feel a little bit better about it. Okay. Ooh, this thing stinks. Alright, let me get this guy situated. Okay, so I wish I could just turn it on and turn off. Ooh, what is this? What do we got? We got fuel splatter? What is this? When I went wide open throttle, what is this stuff? Got some kind of splatter going on here. Could be oil, could be fuel. Interesting. So there's something happening, especially when I went wide open throttle on this side, that causes some splatter. This side seems to be okay, so that's why I'm sending it off to get rebuilt, because this just got a bunch of little leaks and nicks and crannies and dumb shit that might get fixed up once the AED gets a hold of it. Boy, this camera's really nice. So yeah, let me get that out of there, and we'll go ahead and get it sent off to AED. I might just take it off and then just spill the fuel into a bucket that's in the bowls. So I'm not gonna go too crazy trying to get the fuel out of it. Okay. So I take the linkage out first, and it kind of loosened everything up because I really didn't want to, you know, waste your time. I respect your time. So basically 4 bolts that attach the flange to the bottom manifold, or to the intake manifold. I hate saying bottom manifold because in modern terminology we say intake manifold or cold air intake, or we say intake. That's what I mean. So we say intake, and sometimes you say, well, what intake are we talking about? Are we talking about cold air intake, or are we talking about the intake manifold itself? So you kind of have to, like, I don't know, make a distinction between the two, so everyone is on the same page as to the hell everyone's talking about. So I think this guy should just pop out. Let me see what's holding on to this. Okay, this guy comes up, this guy comes up, and then this guy, these springs, they're held on by cotter pins. Theoretically, I should take this out. I think. Or a standard adjustable. So make sure you get a metric adjustable. Sorry, standard adjustable for old cars, metric adjustable for newer cars. Old guys will get that joke. Young guys will go, wait, what? Wow, okay, this linkage is super funky. Okay, I got it on video, I think, so figure it out. Like that. So there. So this linkage is more than likely going to get painted black, because everything's going to end up being black by the time I put everything back in there. So I'll take this guy out, get it out, sand it down a little bit, and paint it black because it's purple. Who the fuck has purple anything on their car right now? Unless you own a GTR. But when you own a GTR, you got a bunch of other issues. Yeah, I don't want to drop anything down there, so I gotta take everything off, even the washer. If not, be real careful taking it off. That washer will fall on in there, and I'll be clapping your valves sooner than you think. I'm squirting a bunch of fuel in the curb because the squirt is going off. So, fuel line's already loosened, so what I pre-loosened the fuel line. So basically, undo that. You're gonna have to take those off too, because I don't think they want to deal with those things when it comes to rebuilding them. Oh yeah, a little bit of fuel. It's just a little bit of fuel. EPA. Don't worry about it, EPA. I totally have a recovery system for all this stuff. Alright. Should, depending on how... There's a big vacuum line back here. Goes to the brake booster. Theoretically, it should just pop up, unless the gasket is super rotted. We'll see. Nice, nice, nice. Get it out of there ASAP. So it does have a spacer. Who knew? It does have a spacer. Alright, so I'm just gonna flip it and let the bowls empty out. Oh, there's a washer. So keep that washer. And give it a couple of whacks of the throttle. There's a nut there, they might need that eventually. A couple whacks of the throttle. Where is it? There we go. Obviously I'm going to ship it off to AED, so I'm not going to ship them a carburetor full of fuel. Might be illegal to do that. And then I'll show you how it all operates. So this is what we call a mechanical secondary carburetor. So it's kind of self-explanatory, but for those of you that really are new to carbs, and again, I'm no expert, so just take this as some kind of slight way of being taught something. So when you're light on the pedal, okay, you're actuating the primary butterflies most of the time. So see right here, this would be your pedal. So see, when you're on the pedal, almost, let's say, I'd say half throttle, you're only actuating the front butterflies. You know, you're just kind of just letting a certain amount of air in and a certain amount of fuel in based on the vacuum that's being commanded, right? So this is basically your primaries and your secondaries. So when you go watt, meaning whack it, not only do the front, see there's like a slight stop here, a mechanical stop here, and then when you whack it and floor it, bam, it opens everything at the same time. So when you're just cruising, you're only using these guys when you're just cruising around. When you go wide open throttle, it mechanically opens. So these are called mechanical secondaries, meaning you're mechanically shoving them open. Now there's another thing that has like a big diaphragm here on the back side, and that is called a vacuum secondary. So what that means is, even if you floor it, these won't open until the proper vacuum is reached to open them based on the needs of the vehicle. Meaning when vacuum is its highest, these will be wide open, but these on the rear with the vacuum will open at a very slow rate, depending on how much air the car is sucking in, for lack of a better word. So there's no right or wrong as to which one to get, in my opinion. I want to be able to say, I want them open now, fuck you, let's go, let's get after it. But with vacuum secondaries, you can floor it, and these secondaries won't open until the proper vacuum or the amount of airflow needed to open them up is reached. So there is a delay, let's just say, but again, it's just a delay in the initial punch. But in terms of like when the engine reaches its proper power level, I don't think there's going to be a power difference when you have mechanical secondary versus vacuum secondary. If anything, you'll have smoother operation with vacuum secondaries in all aspects. But with mechanical secondaries, you might floor it and it might go and might struggle unless you have the air bleeds and the jetting and everything right on the money. The vacuum secondaries are, I think, a little more forgiving when it comes to drivability stuff. But I just wanted to show some of the novices out there what it looks like underneath the carburetor. This is where the squirters, you hit this guy, these guys come in, and look at what happens when you go watt. See how that arm goes down, and see this arm go down? So that's how fuel gets introduced. The initial, let's just say, enrichment happens with a carburetor. All right, let's get these lines off and get it shipped, and let's get some wheels buffed. Okay, as you can tell, these are not terrible. I mean, they've been through the ringer a little bit, and they're a little on the oxidized or just set. And you know how it happens, even with brand new weld wheels, just loses its shine a little bit. So I'm going to try to bring them back to something halfway decent. Even these guys, like if they sit for a little bit, they get kind of on the stained side. So I try to keep this car out of the weather, believe it or not. I mean, this car, honestly, I should be driving it a lot more. I drove it like 40 miles yesterday, so that was really nice. Transmission did well, but the fuel pump issue has to get fixed. But these guys, I'm going to buff them up. Might as well. Got really nothing going on today, so I'm like, let me just get some buffing work done on the wheels. And you know, just get to progressing, because I want to get these wheels and tires on my white car, my white notch, because the rears are not mine. I don't feel any ownership on those guys. So I'll do a little buffing. I'll be here a little while. So there you go. Actually, the nighttime stuff, it's pretty legit. Pretty good. It's pretty dark out here. So there's the before and after. I'll try to give you a better representation of the before and after. See how it's a little on the faded side. Still kind of like has some oxidation silliness going on. Nothing too crazy, but you know, just about, look at that glass finish. About 15 minutes worth of work. Worked out really nice. I'm using a simple mother's ball on the drill that looks like it's been jacked up. Looks like it's pretty, oh, look at the focus on this shit. So yeah, looks super jacked up compared to before, and then the regular polish, nothing crazy. I just don't get fancy. This is like old school Puerto Rican shit, so nothing fancy. All the lights turned on, very nice. Okay, let me get going on this guy, and I'll finish this video up because basically I'm using it just to get used to this camera. One good thing about working on car stuff, it really does kind of reset your brain. You got a lot of shit to work out in your head. Similar to detailing, I was watching the Ammo channel, and he was doing a Volvo today, but he was talking about when he details, he puts his headphones on and just kind of goes off into his own little world, and it does kind of like help just kind of have you make sense of things. Like right now, what am I thinking about, right? Well, I'm gonna be honest with you guys, I don't know where the automotive and racing industry is going. So based on every electrification, based on the EPA, based on government factors, well, you have to start thinking about how are you going to make money in the next 5 to 10 years, right? I'm 44 years old, and I'm not going to do this forever, because in one way or another, the government is going to shut it down. It's just one of those things that is going to become super niche eventually, and you're going to have to carve out a specialty market. And if I do continue to do it, I don't think it'll be in a corporate setting or big setting. Not that I'm leaving Lund, but I think the EPA has it out for companies like Lund, HB Tuners, SET, all those people. So what am I going to do at 44 years old? Start a whole new industry? No. I think I have a nice little market here with the social media stuff. I've learned a lot in my years of messing around and hot rodding and making fun of tuning and getting into tuning and all that stuff, and I was able to have a little following, and it makes a little money. Now, can I make more money doing that? Sure. Can I make sustainable money doing that? Well, it's like the creator in the Matrix. Well, there are certain things we're willing to put up with, meaning in terms of there are ways of what was the actual quote that he said? Okay, the architect of the Matrix said, there are levels of survival we're prepared to accept. However relevant the issue, whether or not you're ready to accept the responsibility for the death of every human being in this world. Well, that's the top one I'm kind of looking at. There are levels of survival we are prepared to accept. And as a guy who works in the industry, well, what level of survival am I willing to accept? There's a certain amount of money I make and I like, and there's a certain amount of toys that I like and a certain kind of lifestyle that I like. It's very minimal, but the cars take up obviously the bulk of that money. Rent and all that stuff is pretty low, and I do want to get into a house. Eventually got to get better light. So, when you're out here buffing and messing around, you kind of want to use it to think and see where you're going to be, what you're going to do, what you're going to work out, business opportunities, collaborations that might help you, stuff like that. All right, this thing needs another quote. It's still kind of scratchy. There you go. Clean them up a little bit. Sorry that it's nighttime, so you're going to get some funky glare and stuff like that, but she's looking pretty good. She's looking a mirror-ish, so about 15 minutes worth of work on each of those guys, so that was totally worth it. So I want to see how they look on the notch. On the Fairmont, I'll put up a picture of how it looked on the Fairmont. I thought it looked super good. So I'm going to get the 275 6015 DOT Pros tomorrow. Again, why the Pros is because it has a thinner bead, and the locks that are like Champion locks or something, the bead locks for these guys are Champion brand or something, only can grab a thin beaded tire as opposed to a ET Street R that has a thicker bead. So hopefully that ends up looking pretty good. So just wanted to give you guys an update as to what's going on down here. Got the carburetor off, going to send it off to AED, get it shipped out, get it rebuilt, get it back on the car, get a hood, get the filter on it, start the process of cleaning everything up. But I want to get the car running good mechanically first. My main goal with any vehicle, almost ever, has always been get it mechanically sound first. So obviously you guys hear what happens when I depress the clutch on the notch. It makes a crazy sound. So I want to make sure I get that taken care of. Maybe switch over to hydraulic. Not 100% sure. That's It's a lot of work that I don't have the space to do, so I'm gonna try to do that. Maybe get a different set of pedals. It already has an aftermarket quadrant, it already has an aftermarket clutch. Maybe it's just a matter of replacing the line and greasing the quadrant and the throwout bearing. Obviously you guys hear how the car starts. It makes like a grinding sound, so it looks like the flywheel is gonna have to be replaced. So if I'm already there doing that, I'll do the throwout bearing. If I'm doing the throwout bearing, might as well do the whole clutch, but the clutch isn't worn. So a lot of stuff to do coming up, so hopefully you guys stay tuned for that. I'm gonna get the headers for the Corvette, gonna diagnose the fielding issue on the GT500 pretty soon, so hopefully you guys stay tuned for that sometime later on this week once the week goes through, because getting stuff done during the work week and then it's dark outside at 5 o'clock, not a lot of time to do anything properly. All right, guys, thanks for listening. Talk to you later. See ya.